Hi, everybody. Hope everybody is doing good this Friday. Sorry that I am a couple of minutes late. I'm here with my boss, Mello, and stuff. And we got to reminiscing today. So, one of the things that we did was we started talking about how we all started, and we started to talk about all the mistakes that I've made, things that I wish that I had did differently. And I figured this would be a really good topic for tonight because a lot of times what happens is people see the end of everything, but they never see the front. So before I start into today's topic, let me introduce myself. For those of you guys that are new out there, hi, I'm Jeanette from Boricua Sewing and Crafts, and this is my supervisor, Mello. And welcome to the show. So usually how I run these embroidery happy hour is the first hour. What I do is I just talk about the topic of the night. And after the hour, I like to go to the chat. I like to say hi to everybody. I like to answer any questions, stuff like that. So, feel free, enjoy this hour. If you can hang out with me, after the hour, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. Understand it's all about sharing the information. So first of all, I want to make sure the camera is okay. And I think it is. Sorry about that, guys. And I have Mello over here. Here, you're being so good. I'll give you a treat right here. Okay. So, of course, he's really not here. He's just here because he knows that I have some food in front of me for him. All right, guys. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, like I have said before, I started to think about where I am today, how I started, and a lot about the mistakes that I have done in the past. And if I had to do all this journey all over again, what are the things that I would have changed and done differently? And I came up with about 12 things. And I thought to myself, if I knew all this stuff up front, I probably would have saved a lot more money, and I probably would have saved more time, and I probably would have gotten, a lot better faster. So if you are new into embroidery and you're just starting as a hobby and you want to do it as a business or something like that, you may want to listen to some of these things that I want to talk to you guys about, because this is going to actually help you guys decide on whether you want to go into the business route or not. All right. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things. All right. So let me talk to you about the first thing. All right. And this is all my personal experience. All right. Some of you guys might relate. I wish that in the very beginning, when I started this whole journey, okay, that I had just stuck with one thing and specialized in that one area. However, though, when you are brand new to embroidery and you're just exploring, you really don't know what it is that you want to do, right? When I bought the embroidery machine and I loved how it embroidered and everything, and I was so fascinated about it, everything that I saw around my house, I wanted to stick under that embroidery needle, okay? I mean, I wanted to do all the shirts that I saw. I wanted to do people's socks. I wanted to do their hats. I wanted to do their jackets, their hoodies. I wanted to do towels. I wanted to do the pot holders. I even took Mello's leashes and I started to embroider those. Remember that? So any little thing that I saw around the house, it's like I just wanted to take it and I wanted to embroider it. And then next thing you know, I started to, buy all these embroidery designs. Now, this can be very, very tricky because what happens is when you start buying embroidery designs, everything looks cute, right? You're like going to the website, you're searching and you're looking at all these designs and you're like, oh, this is cute, this is cute, this is cute, this is cute. Before you know it, you have said this is cute so many times that your shopping cart is already up to like $20, $30. Now, you may even come out and say, well, the embroidery designs aren't really that expensive, right? The designs only cost about like $2 or $3, right? But the thing is that over time, all that expense of embroidery designs that you buy, which some you will use and some you'll get your money back, but there are going to be a lot of embroidery designs that I know I personally bought that I thought I was going to use, and I bought them, download them, and that's as far as it went. Never used them, never even modified it, never tried to do anything with it, didn't even use some of these designs as a gift, okay? So it's kind of like similar to like when you are like quilting or even like going to Joanne, when we used to go to Joann's Fabrics, when they used to be a Joann's Fabric, and you would go ahead and you would look at all this fabric and you would go, oh my God, I like this, I like this, I like this. And then next thing you know, you look at your shopping cart, you got all these fabrics, you bought all this yardage of fabric. And then in your mind, when you are looking at the fabric and you're feeling it and stuff, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to make a cute tote bag, or this is going to make a cute boxy bag, or I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I could use that for applique and stuff like that. And the next thing you know, all that fabric is sitting on your shelf, okay? So if I had to do it all over again, okay, I would have just stuck with one thing, all right, and one niche. And I would have been like, okay, I'm going to embroider towels, and that's what I'm going to do. And I would have just stuck to that, and I just bought designs for that, and just focused on that. And then after I had that all, mastered and everything, that I would have went on to the next thing. This is what your girl Jeanette did, okay? Jeanette started to embroider the kitchen towels. Then she started to embroider shirts. Then she started to embroider dinner napkins. Then she started to embroider backpacks. Then she started to do the dog leashes. I started going all over the place. And then before you know it, okay, you ended up embroidering so much, and it's like, how to embroider, but you never really specialize in any one thing, right? So if you look at a lot of successful people, sometimes what they do is they found their niche and they are just focused on that. Now, can they embroider other things? Absolutely, they do. But the thing is, they focus on that one area. So if I had to do everything all over again, okay, my specialty, I really love doing kitchen towels. So if I had to establish my shop all over again, it would be a big shop that focused on only kitchen towels. That's it. I would not have done the dinner napkins. I would not have done aprons. I would not have done hats or anything else. Just the kitchen towels. And I would have focused on designs on that. That's what I would have did, okay? Because what ends up happening is, if you don't do that, you go all over the place. And then before you know it, it's kind of like you don't really specialize in that one area, right? So I do kind of regret that, all right? Now, the other thing is that I would have been more careful in the equipment that I purchased. Now, in the very beginning of your journey, and it probably will be for a lot of people, and we're sewers and stuff, sometimes you buy a machine. And I bought the first one, which was my Brother SC1900. And that one I don't regret at all. But the thing that I liked about the Brother SC1900 was that was the machine that actually introduced me into the world of embroidery. And I liked it. However, after that machine, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that this was something that I wanted to explore as a in-home business that would help me to fund my son's college education. So what I did was, from then, it's like I wanted to venture out, but then I was kind of afraid to do it. So instead of buying straight out a 10 needle machine, I bought a 6 needle machine. Now, the 6 needle machine, I bought it because of two things. First, I was afraid that I might not be as successful. It might not work out. This isn't going to be successful, right? And the second thing was the price. The difference in the price was about like $3,000 between a 6 needle, and I'm talking about at the time, okay? Between a 6 needle and a 10 needle. And then what happened was, here you go, babe. All right. So then what happened was that I didn't want to spend that much money because I felt guilty. I didn't want, I was like, damn, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend all that money. And then what if it doesn't work out? My husband was the one that was telling me get the 10 needle. And I was kind of like, no. So you know what Jeanette did? She bought the 6 needle. Now, the 6 needle is not a bad machine. So I'm not trying to say that the machine is bad or anything like that. But with what I wanted to do and with the designs that I was working with and everything, a 10 needle should have been better, because the 10 needle machine had the camera capability, the scanning, it had the snowman feature and everything. And I really did need that. And that is something that I use a lot. So a lot of times when I am working on orders for my business today, I actually use my 2 10 needle machines, and I use a 6 needle as a backup. Now, If I had to do that all over again, I would have went straight and just bought all 10 needle machines. All right. So sometimes I even think, should I take my 6 needle machine, trade it in for another 10 needle? I've actually played with that idea, but the thing is, the machines are so expensive today that I don't know, so I'm still toying with the idea. I don't know what your girl's going to do yet. Okay. But it's just something that is, be careful with the equipment that you buy. Okay. Now, talking about equipment that you buy, sometimes what happens is you can go a little overboard on the accessories as well. You don't sometimes know what you don't know. And sometimes what happens is you watch other people and you see that they're using certain equipment when they're embroidering, and then you think to yourself, you know what, that could probably help me out. But what ends up happening is it would help them out because it helps them with their niche. Sometimes it's not necessarily something that you really need for what you're trying to do with your business. So you buy it thinking that it's going to help you, then you get it, and then sometimes you realize that it was a nice have, but it wasn't something that was really required for you to do what you wanted to do. So what ended up happening is you ended up spending money. It's very similar like when you're buying the embroidery designs. You see these embroidery designs, you think they're really cute and everything like that. But then what ends up happening is they're designs that you bought that you never really ended up using, and then next thing you know, it's the same thing with the accessories. You go and you buy a hooping station, you think you're going to need the hooping station, but then all of a sudden you find out, you know what, I really didn't need that because that wasn't the particular hooping station that I needed. I needed to buy the other one because I didn't need one for my flatbed machine because I'm not really using my embroidery flatbed. I really needed the hooping station for my multi-needle machines because this is the one that I really use all the time. So sometimes you really have to think about what you're buying and why you're buying it and how it's going to grow with you. A lot of times what I did was I just jumped in and I saw something. I thought it was going to be really good and it was going to make a difference. In actuality, what ended up happening was I bought it and it was just a nice have. It wasn't something that I really, really, really needed. So you got to be careful with that. So if that was anything that I had to change, it would have been that the way that I was spending my money. I wasn't really looking at my machinery and equipment in a strategic way, thinking, is this something that's really going to help me to get where I want to go? So that is something that's really, really, really important. So I really strongly recommend that you do that. The other thing is pricing. And this is something that gets a lot of people, especially the new folks. And sometimes it still gets people that have been embroidering for quite some time. Pricing can be very, very, very tricky. And sometimes, the pricing that you would place on your embroidery products doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same price that someone else on the other side of the US or around the world would price their products because things are different. So, you really have to learn how you can price your products especially if you're going to be selling embroidery. And that is like so super important. What ends up happening is sometimes you can price your products so high that it's at the point where it's so high that no one's going to buy from you because it is just like, it's really an outrageous price. And then sometimes you can price it so low that honestly, you might as well just be embroidering for free because you're not making any money. All right. So you really have to look at the different strategies that embroiderers use so that they can go ahead and they can embroider. So you just have to really be careful about that. Okay. So it's just something that, is really important. I kind of messed up with this a lot because I myself has struggled a little bit about that. Sometimes what happens, I would like, okay, I knew how much material I was using, how much that material cost, but then I would forget that I have to charge for my time too. And I wasn't charging for my time. And what ended up happening was I would just say, well, if I make $5, that's good enough. But then I would find out that, wait a minute, $5 was not enough because minimum wage isn't even $5. So it's like, what are we doing? So you got to be really, really careful about that and stuff. So that is something that I really wish that I took the time to learn that, because that really, really bit me when I decided to first start running an embroidery business. And I had to learn real quick, because even though I was making the sales, I ended up finding out the reason why I'm making the sales is because I'm so cheap and I'm not profiting. I am not profiting at all. As a matter of fact, I was losing money because I could not even cover the materials that I needed to keep the business going. So that is the really honestly, that was a big one for me. Okay. The other thing is not having the confidence to say no. You have to be really, really careful when you are working on orders. And you really need to know what are the orders that you're willing to work on and which one you are not. So when you are working with your customers and stuff like that, you got to make sure that you are, and I said it in several of the embroidery lives, that you got to make sure that you are gathering their requirements and everything, and that you are really confident that you're going to be able to do a good job. Do not let people push you to take work. If there's a rush order and you're just not feeling it, just don't do it. I have customers that come to me sometimes with some work that I know for a fact is not going to be good quality work. I just had one reach out to me yesterday, and I had to talk to them today, and I had to turn that order down because the logo that they wanted was pretty big and they wanted it on t-shirts. And the way that logo was designed, that was not a logo that I recommended for any type of embroidery. I actually thought that that was something that they should have probably looked into, maybe sublimation or print screening, not embroidery. So, I could have came out and said, yeah, I'll do it. And then I could have went ahead and embroidered all the shirts, but then I already know what would have happened. They would have washed those shirts. It would have looked terrible. And the embroidery was not going to hold well. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing. And if you feel that a job is not right for you, just say no and don't take it and stuff. A lot of people, when they first start off, they just go and they accept it. I was one of them. Okay. In the very beginning, yeah, I did do that. It was a mistake that I did, and I really regretted it and stuff. I didn't think that, it was going to matter, but it really does. And then it also can hurt you, because what happens is if you take an order and you don't do an order well and you're not really successful on it, it overstresses you and everything. It can really tear down your confidence level as well. So you want to make sure that you take orders that you're comfortable with, the orders that you know you're going to be able to fulfill, and with good quality work. So just make sure you do that. So if I had to do that all over again, yeah, that is something that I would be sticking to. Okay. So the other thing also is networking. I kind of wish that I had did this a lot earlier. I have gotten really better at this now, and it's something that really does work for me, is taking the time to network. When, chasing these one-off orders, it's all fine and dandy, but the thing is, the money is really in the bulk orders. If you look at a lot of big embroidery businesses, they have multi-head machines. And one of the things they specializes is in bulk orders. If you were to go ahead and call them and you say, hey, I just want to get a hat embroidered, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll come out and say, yeah, we can do it. But the minimum hats that you have to buy is 40 or 50. So they make their money off of volume. Okay. And because they are working with so many machines and they can get these, products out to you so quickly, their pricing structure is going to be very, very different than someone that's a very small business like me, that I only have 3 machines. So if someone had, the more machines you have, the less that you can charge for the embroidery and the faster you can produce the item. But, just think about that, so that's pretty important and stuff. So, yeah. Now, let me tell you something else that I kind of regret as well. Okay. This is something that if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely do it all over again. Every machine, I don't care what machine you bought, whether you got a Brother, you got a Melco, you got a Racoma or Smart Stitch or whatever, a pull-in. There's so many machines out there now. It's like they're like a dime a dozen right now, But I will tell you what, they all embroider, but they all do it in a different way. And each of these machines has some type of a unique feature, okay? Because it's not all the same. They're all different. It's just a different flavor of an embroidery machine. And each machine has its own type of functionality that's built into it. So If you've seen some of my old videos where I talk about when you are looking to buy an embroidery machine, I really never tell people what to buy because a lot of times it depends on what it is that you're trying to do and what capabilities you're looking for. Each machine specializes in certain functions and each machine has its own different types of capability. But knowing this, when you are going to buy the machine, make sure that you research it so that you are getting what you really want, you need, and it's going to grow with you for the future. All these machines have different capabilities in it. And if you are investing a lot of money into these machines, you got to make sure that you understand that machine, you understand all the functionality that that machine offers, and you learn the machine inside out. Okay. I am going to be honest with you guys, right? I have the Brother 1055X. There's a lot of functionality in that machine. And I really don't even myself, as today, talking to you guys, I don't even know all the functionality of that machine. And I keep telling myself one of these days, what I need to do is take a whole week off or maybe 2 weeks off and read that manual from the first page all the way to the last and learn every spec of that machine. Because I bet you there were probably situations where things got a little bit complicated. And because I didn't take the time to learn that machine inside out, I bet you there was a functionality in that machine that could have helped me out. Like give you a perfect example, the snowman feature. I had this machine for about several months, never used the snowman feature. I thought it was hard to use, couldn't understand it or anything like that. Then when I finally took the time to actually learn it, it's a feature that I use every single time, all the time. Now it's like I can't live without it. You know, the cameras on this, on the embroidery machine, on placement and stuff like that makes things so much easier for me. So now it's like, I love that. I just love that function. It's one of my favorites. And there are other things that this machine can do, and I haven't gone through that manual yet. So I actually do need to go through that manual and read it from the first page all the way to the last. So that is one thing that I truly encourage people to do. Get to learn your machines because that way you can get the best bang for your buck. Okay, so that is something that I myself need to practice, and that's something that I always talk about. The other thing, which is another thing, not only just learning your machine, software. There's so many embroidery software out there, okay? And everybody uses different ones because it depends on your learning curve. And it also depends on what it is that you want to do. If you want to just be a strict machinist, there's certain embroidery software that you can buy just for that. Also, if you want to be not only a embroidery machinist, but you also want to be a digitizer. I'm more of a machinist, and I do know a little bit of digitizing just so that I can fix things. But I often work with other digitizers, and I do know people out there that they not only wanted to learn embroidery, they also wanted to learn the digitizing side as well. So if you are one of those people that like both areas, you may want to look at embroidery software that kind of caters to both those sides, okay, the machinist and also the digitizer. So it all depends. Now my thing is, because there's so many different embroidery softwares out there, it's really important for you to be able to pick an embroidery software that you're going to be able to understand and you're going to be able to use and learn. And they come in different types of formats. They come, example, I use Embrilliance. Embrilliance is the type of software that you buy the module that you need. And each module has different capabilities. So you don't have to own the whole suite. But there are other embroidery softwares out there. Here you go. There's other embroidery softwares out there where you have to, it's you have to pay for the whole package, right? There doesn't come in little slits, right? You have to buy the whole thing. And sometimes that can get kind of expensive because there are some embroidery softwares out there that only cost about like maybe 1,000 or 2,000, but then you have some that run up to 3 or 4 or even 5,000. So it just depends. It depends on what it is that you want to do, what you want to, how you want to handle this. Do you just want to be a machinist, or do you want to do both? Honestly, if you can do both, that is really truly ideal, because that means that you control all the digitizing of your designs, and you can actually save a lot more money that way, because when you work with a digitizer, you got to pay them, right? Because and you have to work with them, and you hope that they know what they're doing and stuff, even though most of them do. But you got to be really careful also when you're picking a digitizer. You don't want to pick someone that just learned. You want someone that's seasoned and know what they're doing. And my recommendation, I always tell people, is don't just have one digitizer that you work with. Make sure that you have 2 or 3. So that way, if you're working on a project, I always farm it out to at least 2 digitizers, and then I get the files back. I know it's a little overkill, but I like doing that, so that way I can see how each of the digitizers do that logo and see what gives me the best result. So it's really the software is really important. You got to learn it inside out. Sometimes they are, for me, when I try to learn digitizing, I kind of have a hard time grasping it, understanding it and stuff. It's not easy for me to learn. For some people, they pick it up really quick, but for me, I don't. I just don't pick it up that quick. I'm more of a machinist. I love pressing the buttons on the machine. I like watching the stitch out, and I like the hooping process and all that kind of stuff, the packaging and everything. That's really more my game. But I know that, I think I should be, I really should. I should try to learn digitizing more. But, just make sure that you not only master your machine, but that you master the software that you purchase as well. Okay. Because that's really important. The other thing also is creating your brand and your relationships and stuff. And that is something that I kind of wish. Now, I think I was starting to talk that, and I got a little sidetracked and everything. One of the things that I wanted to, and I don't think I said this, but what happens is sometimes when you start a business and everything, you create like an online shop, right? And when you create an online shop, it's all good and dandy and everything. You kind of hope that it takes off, that people see the product that you put out there, they like it, and then they go ahead and they buy it. However, though, like I was saying before, the bulk orders is really where the money kind of pours in. But the thing is, you got to ask yourself, how am I going to get those bulk orders, right? You get the bulk orders because you have to start to network. And when you're networking, that's when you start and you talk to churches, you talk to schools, you talk to other small business owners and stuff. And what they do is, when they find out that you're local, and and if you're priced reasonably and everything, they actually love it. You would be really surprised at how many business owners out there really love working with other local business owners. They really do, because they feel like, not only are you supporting them, they're supporting you, and they just love that. So that is like, really, really good. So, you know, I have done I've done pretty good at that area. There's a lot of small businesses around me that I do the embroidery for. And one of the things that I really noticed right off the bat is the word of mouth thing really gets around. So usually when you're working with one small business and they really like your work, they talk with other small businesses as well. And then before you know it, they are, they're recommending you. So I mean, I usually give them a stack of my business cards, and next thing you know, it's like I have other businesses call me and they say, hey, I talked with this owner, and he says he uses you for embroidery, and I wanted to talk to you to see if you can do something similar for my business. And before you know it, you are really growing a lot of relationships with a lot of other business owners. And I think that's like pretty awesome. And that's really where a lot of, your business really starts to grow. I mean, I get a lot of people that ask me, like, what's the most profitable for me? And I have to be honest with you guys, it's not really the Etsy shop and the online shop. They make money, don't get me wrong. I make sales on that, but most of my sales actually come from local businesses by me and customers within my community and even outside of my community. they're, that come with their one little, project, like a backpack or a swim towel or something like that. Those are the ones that's where my money usually comes in. Okay. And, but honestly, it's like the easy orders. Okay. When people say, well, what's the easiest way? It's really the online, because on the online, I'm already selling products that I've embroidered hundreds and thousands of times. Okay. And all I do is I just get the order. I don't even engage with the customer at all, because they just go on my shop, they place the order, and they fill in their personalization, whatever it is that they want. I get the order, I fill it, I process it, I package it up, I ship it out. Really simple and clean. However, though, when I am dealing with customers that are local, that's a whole different ballgame. Okay. There is a lot of customer interaction, not just on the phone and on text, but in person. There is, a lot more detail and stuff. So it's a lot more. And then not only that, it's not just selling on online. I have to then have accounting software. So I use QuickBooks, and I have to create invoices, and then I have to collect the sale, and I have to collect the sales tax, and then, and all that other stuff. So it becomes a whole other ball game and stuff like that. So it can get kind of, what is it, Mel? So it can get kind of like, it can turn into a lot. And which is why I kind of tell people, sometimes it really depends on your niche and what is it that you want to do. So you got to really think about it. You got to strategize. And that is something that a lot of people sometimes don't do. And then they get overwhelmed, and like sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm going to sell locally. Well, then they sell locally and they find out that they have to do all this stuff. They got to collect the sales tax. They got to pay the sales tax. They got to, have accounting software. They got to do the invoices. There's a lot of administration stuff involved. And that's the other thing too. If you're planning on starting, make sure that you take a business class. Go to a community college or something like that. Take a business class. Join a business networking group, so that you can know what it is that's expected of you and your business and stuff. So, and I'm talking about the administrative side, like getting your LLC, registering with your county, registering with your state, and all that. There's a lot of things that are involved, and you have to do this, guys. It's not something that you might have to do it. You should do it, okay? Because you don't want to get caught up on anything, okay? So, yeah. All right. The other thing that I kind of wish that I had did. When I first started doing embroidery, like I said, I just bought a sewing machine. Then I went and I bought a combo machine, which was embroidery and sewing. And I just started doing it and everything. And then I said, oh, I don't know what I want to do, right? Do I want to have it as a hobby? Do I want to have it as business? And it kind of slowly grew into a business, because what happens is when you start making things and people like what you do, next thing you know, it's like they want you to do it. And then you're like thinking to myself, okay, I can give all this stuff away, but giving it away kind of puts me in a hole, because I'm buying all these blanks. I'm the one that's buying all the threads, and I'm the one that's doing all this stuff. So it's like, the money's going out, it's not coming in. So, I kind of wish that I really started to look at this. As soon as I made that decision, I like embroidery and it's something that I want to do as a side gig or business or whatever you want to call it. I wish I had truly treated it as a business officially from the first day. And I let it kind of just mold into it, right? So what ends up happening is when you do that, there's a lot of things that you leave out. And I mentioned some of these, like I didn't create the LLC right off the bat. I wasn't collecting my sales tax off the bat. I didn't register with the state or the county off the bat, okay? And I didn't set up my QuickBooks and my invoicing off the bat. It was just stuff that I was kind of like just doing on the side, and I was doing it on the fly. And then when I said I really want to be a legit business, then I had to like go back. I had to track back and do the things that I should have did from the very beginning, okay? And this is the thing that I kind of wish that I had really took seriously from the very beginning. A lot of times people don't think about this, but it's something that I kind of learned the hard way. Your business name. That is really important. So make sure that when you make that decision and say, I want to have my embroidery business or whatever, that you actually create a name that you are going to be content with. And it's a name that's going to be solid for your business and it's going to grow with you. And think about also what is it, how is this business going to survive when you're no longer here? I'll give you a perfect example of this. Let's say that I have this business, right? And I call it Jeanette's Embroidery Businesses, right? Or Services, Jeanette Embroidery Services. Well, Jeanette's fine. I'm embroidering today. Everything's fine. Now, Jeanette's in her 90s. Okay. Now I'm in my 90s. My hair is all white. I could barely walk or I could barely see, or, and I can't embroider anymore. Okay. I can't do the volume of embroidery that I was doing and stuff like that. Well, something's going to happen, right? Either I'm going to have to close the business or I'm going to have to change the business name. Let's say my son Cardito comes in, and then Cardito comes in and says, well, you know what? I want to run the embroidery business. I want to do it. Well, he's not going to run the embroidery business that says Jeanette Embroidery Services. He may want to call it Cardito Embroidery Services or something like that. So to me, I'm like, when you think of a business name, make sure that it's a business name that's going to evolve and that it can sustain, right? So you can call it, I don't know, Embroidery Apple or, Apple Embroideries or I don't know, whatever embroidery services, but something that when you no longer is in your hands is something that can be maintained by the other person. That's going to take, what do you want? Mellow Embroidery Services. You want to do that, Mellow? You're going to do it? Okay. Mellow wants to have the embroidery services, right? Okay. Here, this is the last one. I'm not going to give you any more. You're going to get fat. All right. So that's something that that I thought about and stuff. So let me see. And then also, even my YouTube channel, I was telling my sister, should I change the name? Because I know the Crafty Puerto Rican, she changed the name to her channel. She's calling it Jenny's Crafty Life, which I think is kind of cute. It's a cute name. But I don't know. I mean, I wanted to start another channel. I already got the channel set up and everything. I went and I purchased my brand new camera. Okay. And I am learning how to use it. So that way I can start posting vlogs, vlogs on there. But I'm now starting to debate, should I just leave everything in one channel and then just kind of organize it so that people can go to the channel and listen to whatever it is that they want. So I kind of sometimes wish that I thought of all these things ahead of time. That way everything could be nice and smoother and cleaner. I will tell you this. I know my sister thought about that. I mean, but see, the thing is, my sister has started businesses in the past, her and Mr. H. This is not their first time around the rodeo. So believe me, a lot of things that I know I say, she's been there, she's done that, right? So when she started her channel and she was going to start doing her thing, her and Mr. H were already thinking about how is this going to grow and evolve, right? So they already had that mindset. So she was pretty fortunate because she was able to name the channel how she wanted it, her shop, everything. With me, it's like I have Boricua Sewing and Crafts as the channel, and then I have Unique Designs for You Embroidery Services as the shop. When, if you think about it, it looks like two different things, which it actually is. But what is it, Mel? You're going to start barking. But I kind of wish that I had picked something that was just a little more, take it. No more. I keep saying no more and I keep giving it to you and stuff. You're going to get fat. There's no more. It's empty. Okay. No more treats. All right. So see that eye? He knows there's more. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what I have and stuff, I mean, I've been thinking about it and stuff because, I kind of been away for about a month, right? And the reason why I say that is because when my mom was here, I was not able to run my business the way I usually do. And, so I kind of had to slow down because I had to pay attention to her. And then I had to take her back to Florida, and I stayed in Florida for a little bit longer than what I had anticipated. So I kind of fell behind, and that's the other thing too. It's like it really is kind of hard, when you're running a business and stuff, because you don't have any downtime. Honestly, you really don't. And I noticed, like, even now I'm back, and I have been I don't know. I'm not saying I'm getting on people's nerves, but I'm playing catch up. I am playing catch up and stuff. So, and it's starting. I don't know. I'm starting to feel a little bit like a little frustrated, right? Because there are a lot of things that I have to do. So I know starting tomorrow, I already told myself, and my husband kind of said it best. He kind of told me, he said, you need to take your iPhone and you need to put on do not disturb, and that way you just focus. And he told me that. He said you need to go into that embroidery room, you need to close that door, and you need to put do not disturb on that iPhone, and you need to focus, because right now I'm currently working on developing my website for my business. And that's the other thing that I kind of regret that I didn't do. Okay, all I did was I went and I created an Etsy shop. I did not create a storefront website for my embroidery business. And a lot of times what happens is when people are looking for me locally, I have a Google profile, but when they click on the link, what they do is they go to my Etsy shop and they see all the products that I offer and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, I should have a website out there that introduces myself to people that need that custom embroidery, and also link it to the Etsy shop in case they want to see some of the products that I offer on Etsy. So now I'm currently working on that. And I'm going to tell you something, that is a lot of work. I can see right now why a lot of people outsource this stuff. And that's another thing too that I kind of learned the hard way. And I may have to outsource the website design, I'm starting to think, because I'm trying to do this on my own and it's not really easy. Or I might have to take another trip to Florida and talk with Mr. H and see if he can help me out on some of the things. So I'm creating it, and it's like, it's a lot of work. It really truly is. And you have to be really careful when you're working on these things. You got to pay attention to detail. You can't have any misspellings. You got to make sure that when you're pricing the items on these sites that they are correct, because let's say instead of putting $24.99, I put 2.49, right? People are going to be like, oh my God, that towel's only $3, I can't afford to be selling towels for no $3. Okay. So, you got to be really, really careful with what you put out there and stuff like that. So right now I have the, the page kind of developed, but it's not fully developed. I'm still working on this. It's not easy, guys. It really isn't. And, I might have to outsource it. I just might have to. And that is one thing that I also learned the hard way as well, is you got to learn what you can handle and you got to learn what you can't. Okay. I already know the finances I had to outsource. So I have an accountant that goes into QuickBooks every month and does my reconciliation and all that stuff. And I will tell you, I drive them crazy. I really do, because, sometimes when I am making purchases for the business, I forget to input my expenses in there, or I forget to upload the receipt. And you have to be very precise on this stuff, okay? Because when it comes to tax time, all that is required, and they actually print out a book of receipts for that of, expenses that I have for the business. So, I mean, it's very, very time consuming. And for one person, it's a lot. And right now I'm not working, okay? So, I have more time. However, though, that's the other thing when you're retired, when you have no time, and then you're trying to focus on stuff, then what happens is people kind of assume that you're always free, and you're really not. I have to sometimes remind people, I'm running a business here, so I have to focus. So it's like I have to wake up in the morning. I have to come in here. I have to check what orders I have. I have to fill those orders. I have to look at my supplies and see what I'm low on and what I need to order. I also have to establish my wholesale accounts. And that's the other thing too. That's a big mistake that I made in the very beginning, guys. If once you have all your proper licenses for your business, you can get wholesale prices. So you should not be paying, retail price for your threads. You should not be paying retail price for your bobbins, for your blanks. Okay. You should not be paying that sales tax when you buy things, because the sales tax is supposed to be paid by the actual consumer of certain products. All right. So you have to make sure that you get all of that. And you have no idea how many times I was buying my blanks at retail prices, and I could have been buying them a lot cheaper. All right. I was actually going to stores to pick up my blanks instead of reaching out to these wholesalers and buying my blanks from them, without paying sales tax and getting these blanks at the wholesale prices. And if you guys don't know, the wholesale prices is very different from retail. There is a significant amount difference in that price. And that is going to affect the price that you charge when you are charging for embroidery services. Okay. I'll give you an example. You may go out there and you might buy a shirt, and the shirt's probably going to cost you $12.99. Well, that same shirt that you bought, I got it from a wholesaler for $2.50. I didn't pay no $12.99. Okay, literally more than half, less than half of what you paid. I got that same item. Same thing with the hats and everything. Now, sometimes with some wholesalers, there will be a quantity that you have to buy. So you can't, but there are some wholesalers out there, like the one that's by me. I can walk in there and say, I need one hat. And I get that one hat at the wholesale price. Okay. But there are some wholesalers that you have to buy 10, 15, 20 in order to get a wholesale price. It just depends on the company that you're buying from. But, you have to make sure that you have all this aligned. I wasted a lot of money. You have no idea. The other thing was the shipping. Okay. Make sure that you are, when you're, getting your shipping for your orders, when you're sending them out, that you're actually buying your you're paying for the postage on a business account, not retail. You have no idea how many times, the very beginning, oh my God, how much time did I waste? I was printing out, first of all, I wasn't even using I was using a regular printer. So you could only imagine how I was using up that black ink. Okay. And then I was taking the label and I was taping it onto the package instead of using a postage label printer, a thermal printer with actual postage stickers, like this. Okay. Where you can just peel it off and stick it on the package. I was using Scotch tape. And then I would show up at the post office with a big box with all my orders, and I would go to the counter. And I was paying retail postage to ship out all my orders. Instead of using, the Etsy where it's a lot cheaper, and at the same time, I get to print them out. And instead of standing in line at the post office, I can do one or two things. I can get them to come and pick it up at the house the very next day. Or if I have the time and the post office is still open, I would just take the box. I would drive over to the post office, and all I would do is just put it on the counter. And then they go and they just scan it, and then that's it. I didn't have to stand in line or anything like that. So I just didn't, I didn't know, because when you're starting out, you don't have anybody to tell you all this stuff, right? You just go ahead and you just, oh, I got a sale. Okay. And then the other thing too, is you become smarter when it comes to shipping out items. Okay. And sometimes you're thinking, all right, you want to package your stuff really nice and everything. So you go out and you buy all these boxes. Well, hello, boxes are heavy. They add to the weight. Next thing you know, I was like, why am I sending out kitchen towels in these boxes? And the boxes are adding more weight, and that weight costs money. Now I use shipping bags. Okay. All I have to do is make sure that I have the towel in a nice clear plastic. So that way it's nice and protected. I put it in this shipping bag. It's nice and secure. It's lightweight. It doesn't add to the cost, so it's light, doesn't, so it's not heavy. So it ends up being cheaper for me to ship out. Okay. So you learn all these things as time goes on. You kind of learn how to, process your orders faster, how to do it smarter, how to save on shipping, how to save on blanks, how you save on your threads, on your embroidery, embroidery threads, your bobbins, your packaging equipment, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's, and then this is the other thing, guys. Okay. If you're a business and you have your license and all that kind of stuff and everything, and you're buying, let's say you go to, like for me, right? I have Susie's Quilt Shop that's buying me. I don't pay sales tax when I buy things from Susie, not even for machines or anything, because I'm a business buying from a business. So what I do is I hand her my certificate, okay, that exempts me from sales tax when I'm buying equipment for my business or supplies for my business. I don't pay taxes, So she, if you as a customer goes in and let's say you buy fabric from her, or you buy bobbins, or even if you buy a machine and stuff like that, well, she rings it up and you got to pay sales tax. Well, when it gets rung up for me, I pay the price, but I don't pay the sales tax and stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways as a business owner that you do save money. Okay. But the thing is, if you don't know, you don't know. That's why I say, if you are able to get a class on entrepreneurship, on how to run a business, especially one where you're running a business for retail and stuff like that, then yeah, I say take that class. So that way you can learn, because those are the things that you end up learning. All right. And stuff. So yeah, so those are things that I kind of regret, that I kind of wish I knew up front, because I know that if I knew these things up front, I would have probably saved a lot more money. I ended up wasting a lot of money on shipping, on packaging, paying retail when I didn't have to, paying sales tax on items when I didn't have to either. Mello would have got a lot more bones and stuff like that, because I would have had more money in the bank. Yeah. So that's something that, man, he does not love me. This dog does not love me. He loves the treats. That's what he loves. I know it. All right, guys. So let me go down the chat and let me say hi to you guys and stuff. And if you like the information that I shared with you guys, please give me a thumbs up. And in my channel, please consider subscribing. And you are not going to leave me alone tonight. I already know it. You keep distracting me. I don't know. So anyway, guys, yeah. But I hope the information that I shared kind of helps you out and stuff. And I already see that somebody has like questions, like Cindy, right here. Here's a question off the bat. And I didn't mean to be skipping you guys. Believe me, I'm going to start from the top. But she says, does Amazon offer business accounts where you can get wholesale prices when you buy? Yes, Cindy, they do. Okay. I have 2 accounts with Amazon. Okay. And let me tell you something about it. Let's say that I have my private, account with Amazon. And that's for my personal, right? So like, let's say Fred wants to buy a shirt, or I want to buy a shirt, clothes, or whatever and stuff like that. I use that account to buy whatever. That's where I pay my sales tax and all that kind of stuff and everything. Then I have an Amazon business account, and that is for the embroidery business. And that is the account where I go ahead and I buy my bobbins, all the other stuff, threads, equipment, if I need camera equipment for my YouTube channel, if I need hoops, whatever it is that I need, blanks and stuff like that. Yes. Now, the wholesale prices, what it is with my Amazon account is, when I use my personal account on Amazon, I pay sales tax on that. Sometimes the prices on the Amazon business account, I don't get charged sales tax on those things because those are things that I'm buying for my business and stuff. Sometimes you will see a price difference in the item. Okay. Sometimes it's not much. All right. But they do have, it is cheaper when you use your business account to purchase items for your business. All right. Now, the thing is, though, you got to be careful because, you know, I've heard of people that they go and they start these business accounts. Next thing you know, they're buying everything off the business accounts. They don't even use the personal accounts anymore. Don't do that. You know, I mean, be careful when you do stuff like that because, you know, you don't want to get caught. Okay. You know, remember, you have an embroidery business. Okay. And, you know, you can't say, hey, I bought let me see, something crazy. My husband just bought a telescope because he wants to see the stars and all that stuff. So he bought a telescope. Okay. So let's say I went and on my business account and I bought a telescope. Well, you got to remember that all the items that I bought on my Amazon business account, that needs to be shown in my QuickBooks account because those are things that I bought for my business. So that needs to show on my business books. If let's say I purchased the telescope on the business account and let's say I get audited or something like that. And even though I don't even have to get audited, I have someone that does my books for me. Trust me. The lady that does QuickBooks is going to say, all right, Jeanette, you need to explain to me how a telescope was needed for an embroidery business. I mean, like you run an embroidery, right? You do embroidery. So what is, you know, you want to look at Venus while you're embroidering? Like explain that to me because the thing is you need to explain that to the IRS. Okay. And chances are the IRS is going to come out and say, nope, that's like fraud. You know, you can't do that. You know, that you can't do that. You can get in trouble for that. So, you know, make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. I mean, you know, you guys do you. I know me. Okay. I walk the straight line. I don't do the fuzzy stuff. Okay. So whenever I know, like if I have to buy, let's say I need to buy a sewing machine, I would buy that with my Amazon business account if I'm going to use Amazon to buy it. Or I'll go to Susie's Quilt Shop and I'll buy it at her price, but she doesn't charge me the sales tax and stuff like that, you know, that kind of stuff. I'll use my my account for that. You know, furniture, right? If I need to buy furniture for my sewing machine, you know, or for my embroidery machine, let's say something happens to my stand, right? My stand collapses. I need a new stand or whatever. I go and I use my business account on Amazon to buy the stand if they sell it, you know, and it's a good price or whatever. And, you know, I don't pay sales tax or anything like that, but it's here. It's here, right? You know, thread, let's say they have a sale on thread. Well, I would go ahead and I would buy it on my Amazon account. Stabilizer, I buy that on my Amazon account, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, Amazon does have business account where you can buy. Okay. Now, are their prices always the best one? I always say, you got to shop around just like you would as a customer buying something for yourself. You have to do that. Don't assume that a certain place that you have a business account is always going to offer you the best price. Okay. There are a lot of wholesalers out there. Okay. You got Alibaba, you got Jiffy Shirts. There's SS Activewear out there. They are a lot, fair.com. There are a lot of wholesalers that are out there. And sometimes these wholesalers sell the same thing. Okay. So, and this is what I recommend that people do. It does not cost you anything to open up an account with these folks. It really doesn't. Okay. It's free. You send them your business information and they go ahead and they open up a business account for you. And then what you do is, you know, when you are looking for something, look at all the sites. Go to the sites and say, okay, well, this is the shirt that I need. Jiffy Shirts has this shirt and this is how much they cost. Okay, well, let me see what SS Activewear is selling it for? The same exact shirt. What is their price? Okay, let me go on Amazon. Does Amazon business sell it? Do they have it? Let me go to the local place that I have right here. Do they have it? Okay, and then you go to where it offers you the best price. Now, and the thing is also, one thing about the wholesalers that you have to be careful about, the quality. Not all wholesalers are the same. Okay, sometimes wholesalers, if they're selling something like really dirt cheap, okay, you really got to ask yourself, is it because they just giving me a good price, or is it because what I'm trying, what they're selling is like real cheap material, right? Like maybe the shirt is really like so super thin that you're not going to even embroider on that. You know what I'm saying? So you really got to check that too. Not all wholesalers have very good quality. Maybe sometimes they're good quality in hats, but they suck in shirts. Or maybe they're really good in shirts and they suck in hats. You never know. Okay. So, what my recommendation is, go to the wholesalers, people that buy blanks too. Reach out to them also and say, hey, I'm a business and I like your blanks and I want to set up an account with you so that I can buy in bulk or whatever. Do you have something like that? Do you only sell retail prices, or do you have wholesale prices? And if you do sell retail prices, if I give you my business information and I give you the certificate where I don't have to pay sales tax, will you guys honor that? And you'll be surprised. A lot of businesses, even local businesses, because like with Susie's Quilt Shop, I just give her my certificate with all my information in it and stuff, and she has it filed. So when she meets with her accountant and her accountant says, oh, I saw that, Unique Designs for You, purchased a whole bunch of threads and stuff like that, and you sold it to her on retail price, but you didn't charge her any sales tax. Well, she'll come out and say, yeah, because she's sales tax exempt. This is her certificate. She has my certificate in file. Her accountant sees it. Okay, so it works that way. So, yeah. So just something to think about. There's a lot of things. That's why I always say it's best to always take a class and everything so that you can learn all of this, because it does save you money in the end. And sometimes what happens is you learn all this stuff as you grow. And then you start meeting other business owners and stuff like that, So, yeah. Hey, Alba, how you doing? I see Bob is first. Hey, Bob, how are you? I see Alma, how are you? Hey, Jenny, how you doing? I see Sue in the house. How are you, Sue? Hey, Robin, how are you? Let's see. Saying hi to everybody. Hey, Roxanne. I see Eartha. Hey, darling from Connecticut, how are you? And I hope you guys are doing okay with all this smoke that we got going on. I'm going to tell you something. I woke up this morning. There was a lot of smoke out there. And so I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I had lunch with my girlfriend today. And one of the things that me and her were talking about is you don't see anybody in the street. You don't see anybody in the street because of the alert that was going on. So, yeah. So I hope everybody is doing well. And I hope Donnie, that Connecticut is doing okay, because I know you kind of like you're up there by Canada, and I think there was like some fires out there and stuff like that. Let's see. Hey, Robin, how are you? Everybody saying hi to Mello. Hey, April, how are you? How you doing? I see Emma in the house. Hey, Allison, how are you? Let's see. Oh, I see my sister. Hey, what are you doing with Nancy Ricardo and stuff? You should be Gifts HQ. What is that? Oh, that must be Mr. H, maybe. Okay, so Mello wants his snacks. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Hey, E. Collins, how you doing? Oh, and I want to show you guys something too. Well, yesterday was my birthday. Okay, so yep, got a year older. That's how life is, right? So I got to walk around the earth another year, and I had a really good day yesterday. I met with an old friend, had lunch with her and stuff. And then I met with one of my besties to have a glass of wine. Well, kind of had more than one glass of wine. But I want to show you guys what she gave me. And some of you guys may know her name is Miss Carol, okay? And she quilted something for me. And I need to show you guys the quilt. You want to show the quilt? Come on. Come over here. I don't want you messing with my quilt. Please, guys, take a look at this. This is one of the quilts that she made for me. It's kind of big. Look at this beautiful quilt. Isn't it gorgeous? I got this for my birthday. Oh my God. I am so in love with this quilt. So in love. Love the colors. Look at how beautiful. Look at how beautiful she did this. And she did this on her long arm. Okay. She did like the swirls. You know, I think they call it leaves or something. I don't know what this design's called and everything because I'm not a quilter, but oh my God. Beautiful. And I got to show you guys the dedication. It's on the other side. Oh my God. Loved it. Look what she put. Look what she put. Oh, I'm going to cover her. Look what she put. I am quilt worthy. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to make a shirt that says I'm quilt worthy because now I got a quilt. And then also what she gave me a book, and in here she had put a whole bunch of patterns of quilts. So I was telling myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through each of these patterns because I have fabric and stuff like that, and I am going to make a quilt. So it's kind of like she gave me an assignment. So I'm going to go through this whole book and I'm going to make, as some of these are beautiful. Some of these are just gorgeous. So I'm actually going to try making some of these quilts and stuff. So yeah, so I mean, I was just like, I was so excited when I got my quilt. Let me fold it up. I don't want to get it all crunchy, you know. I got to fold this up. But yeah, I just loved my quilt. I fell in love with it. And I already told everybody at home, don't you touch this quilt. This is mine. This is for me to wrap myself on. And, you know, I just love it. Isn't it beautiful? The colors and everything. Oh, my God. I fell in love. Fell in love with this. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. And stuff. And my husband laughs because I've been walking around with it all the time. Because I just love my quilt. I just love it, love it, love it. So anyway, I just needed to show that off. Right, Mello? Okay, now he's all calm and everything. Okay, guys, so let me go down here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, hey Marlene, it says I was just talking to my husband about that. Just one product, simple, easy, less costly. Yes, and you are so correct because that's the other thing, Marlene, that I was like thinking about is when you start to, you say, oh, I'm going to do kitchen towels. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that and everything like that. What ends up happening is you end up with stuff, a lot of stuff. Okay. You end up with kitchen towels that you aren't, you know, a lot of blanks. They're just hanging around. Right. And when you look at it, it's really money. It's money that you spent and it's just there. Now, you do tell yourself stuff to make yourself feel good, okay? We all do it. I do. You know what I tell myself? Well, okay. I know those dinner napkins, I'm not going to be able to sell them and stuff like that. But you know what? I can give them to someone as a gift. But let me tell you, this is what happens to me. You know how I just showed you the quilt that Carol made for me? Okay. And you know how she said, you know, me and Carol, when we talk, we always say, are you quilt worthy? Well, I also think, are you embroidery worthy? Because this is what happens. When you make a quilt, there is so much time and energy that goes into it. And it's special because as that person was creating it, they thought about you. Okay. And it's like it's a piece of them. They're giving you a piece of them. And sometimes I feel that way about embroidery. Okay. Because embroidery, it takes work. There's a lot that's involved in the process. There's a lot of hooping. There's a lot of selections of different thread colors. There is also a lot of stabilizer that's involved. A lot of time of changing needles, watching the needle go up and down. If you're doing like appliques, you got to cut thread and all that. It's a whole process. You pour a lot of yourself into it. And sometimes what happens is you don't want to do this and then you're giving it to just anybody. It becomes really special and meaningful. And you start to ask yourself, is this person quilt worthy or embroidery worthy or even worthy? Okay. Because sometimes it's like, you know, so you tell yourself you're going to give them out as gifts, but then you wonder if they're really appreciated or not. But at the same time too, sometimes I say, well, Jen, sometimes you got to get off that because a gift's a gift. It's not supposed to have attachments, right? You gave it to somebody. Hopefully they appreciate it. They appreciate it. Great. If they don't, then what are you going to do? Right. And so, but that's what ends up happening. I only have 2 treats left and you have eaten all of them. I just don't know what to say about you. So, look at that. Oh, terrible dog. Terrible. And there's only one left and I'm not going to give it to you for a while. Okay. So you're going to have to sit. Why are you looking at me like that? You see, look at that. Look at that face. See that face? See? Now he's giving me the evil eye, So, yeah, so that's something. So, I don't know. Well, whatever. You made me lose my train of thought and stuff. But, yeah, you end up with a whole bunch of stuff, Marlene. That's what ends up happening. Then you have like a whole house full of stuff that you got that you really didn't need, and stuff. So, yeah. Hey, Cindy, how you doing? How are you? Let's see. We were out. Oh my good. The Canadians smoke is bad here. We probably should have not done it. Yeah, you gotta be careful, Cindy, because one of the things that they kind of told us over here is like they kind of gave us an alert, and they were saying that hanging outside right now is equivalent to you breathing in all that smoke. It's like smoking 6 packs a day or something like that. That's something my husband said, but I was kind of like, well, then I guess I'll be dead. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, but they say it's really not healthy, so we shouldn't be out there and stuff. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, Bob said, I recently bought the commercial license to 150 art pieces to digitize. Oh, that's awesome. Do your thing. Let's see. See if there's any more. Everybody's talking about the smoke. It's really bad here. Here it's bad. My son, when he woke up this morning and he wanted to go out to get a cup of coffee, he went outside and then he came right back in and he was like, hey, Ma, like, was there a fire or something in here? Because you could kind of smell it. And I was kind of like, no, but we could kind of like tell that, something was bad. So I was kind of like, just get your coffee and then just come back because it's like, it's really bad. Yeah, but it's not any good. Hopefully it gets better and stuff. It's really funny. Sometimes I think about like, what the hell is going on? I feel like there's always something out there. It's like, first we had at one time all the fires in California and all that kind of stuff, and then there was fires all the way in Florida at one time, right? My sister told me there was a time when she stepped out of her house and everybody was looking at each other like, what the hell? Is the fire like close to to Miami or whatever? and they had their issues with their smoke and everything. And then now Canada, and I really honestly did not think, I mean, I live in Virginia, right? So I'm like hours away from Canada. I don't even live close to Canada, right? So, I mean, we're probably talking about from here to New York is probably like 5.5 hours, probably, I don't know, 10 hours or something like that to go to Canada from here, maybe. I'm thinking, I don't know, or maybe more. And here we are with smoke here. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm at lost for words. Kind of like, because I asked my husband last night if he, because he bought the telescope. Like I said, he wants to see the stars. So I was asking him, did you get to see any stars? Because he goes to our front porch, because where we live, it actually, when the sky is clear and we sit in the backyard, you look up, you could see so many stars out there, and it is beautiful. And when he bought the telescope, I was thinking, oh, and I'm thinking, did you see a bunch of stuff? And he's like, no, it's all smoky out there. So I couldn't see anything. So I was just like, oh, sucks. But yeah, but I don't know what's going on. It's life. All right, guys. So yeah, you guys are all talking about that smoke, man. Hey, Bernardino, how are you? How you doing? Let's see. Oh, yes, guys. I don't know if you guys have watched my sister today, this morning, because she has a channel, Gifts HQ, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the morning, AM, and she mentioned about Kimber Bell Day. So go over to the Kimber Bell website, register, because they're giving away a bunch of prizes like sewing machines and all that kind of stuff and everything. You don't know, you might win. I forgot to mention that to Cal. I'm gonna have to text her and tell her she needs to go over there and register and everything, because hell, she might win. You never know, So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a whole bunch of giveaways and stuff like that. So that would be pretty cool. And Nancy is saying let the crafting weekend begin. Oh my goodness. Hope someone from our community was. I know, I hope so too. That would be like so cool if someone we knew win. I mean, I would love that and stuff. Hey, Cindy, she says, usually I talk to my dealer into giving me the manual to read before the machine comes in. Knowing your machine is power. It is. And this is the other thing too, Cindy. One of the things that I do for my manuals is, what I do? It's a little trick. Well, it's not really a trick, but something that helps to keep me organized and stuff. You can actually get PDF files of your manuals. So one of the things that I do is for every machine that I own, I download the PDF file, and then I put it in a folder on my laptop. So whenever I run into an issue or I have to research something, I can easily go to my laptop, open up the PDF for that machine, and then I can do a search and find in that section of the information that I need. So, I mean, that really works wonders for me, because what ends up happening is if you rely on the book, right, the physical book, you may not remember where you put that book at, and then you're flipping through pages because you're trying to figure out where the topic is that you're looking for. And I found that it was just so much easier to just, if you go to the manufacturer's site, a lot of times they have the manuals in a PDF format. Just don't download it. Put it in your machine in like a little folder, and just rename the manual to that actual machine. So like I have manuals and they say Brother PR 670E, Brother PR 1055X, Juki, the Brother 1034DX for my serger, the Brother Airflow 3000. I have all my PDFs, and whenever I'm working on the machine, if I get stuck or I need some information, just go there, open that particular manual, and just do a find search, and it'll, you can just scan through that whole manual, go straight to the area where you're having the issue or whatever, and read right on and stuff. So that actually works for me. So it's something that I just do. you know, but one of the things that I need to do is I need to read the front to the back of that, because this machine has so many capabilities in it, and I haven't even touched some of it. So, and that's went through my mind because one day I hit the button by mistake, and there was like a whole other section in my 1055X machine. And I was like, man, I don't even know what these buttons are for. And I'm like, I should know this. I should know this machine inside out. So I think what I really should do is make that like a personal project where I'm going through reading through the home manual, learning the machine step by step, and I should even videotape it so I can do like a whole library of videos of the 1055 and all the functionality. So that way I myself, if I ever forget, because sometimes you do things once and then you're good with it and then you forget, I don't have any more treats. I'm sorry. I have no more treats. None. All right, I have one. But should I give it to you now? No. Why don't you just sit down, relax, sit. You can sit and relax. There you go. Just relax. You'll be okay. So, I should really do a whole video series of that. What do you think about that, Mello? Should I do that? You think I should do that? You think that's a good idea? Do you like that idea? And so I think he likes it. I think he's kind of like he's focusing on that right now. I think he kind of likes it and stuff. But yeah, this is something that I do with my manuals and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you got to know the machine. And sometimes what happens is, like I said, you could have a situation where the machine could have made things easier for you, but because you didn't know about that functionality, and this is the other thing too. The machine also has fonts already that's built in and stuff. And I never use the fonts or the designs that come with the machine. I should actually go through them and play with them a little bit and stuff. You mad at me now? You mad? He's mad. Yeah. You want this one? This little treat? Okay. Now he's mad. He doesn't even want to get up. Oh, look at that. Look at that head pop up. Oh my goodness. Hey Marsha, how you doing? How are you? Yep, and Marlene, I'm still learning about the features on my 10 needle machines too. Yeah, there's just so much to learn. There really, really is. Let's see. Marlene said, I just wanted an extra income for my cruises, not making ahead yet. Most income made is to cover the expenses and investing back into the business. And Marlene, it's going to be like that for a little while. When you first start out a business, that's usually what ends up happening. Any kind of money that you make kind of goes right back into it. You're buying fabric, you're buying threads, you're buying stabilizers, you're buying other machines and stuff like that. You're always reinvesting a lot of times. But eventually, after I think like 3 or 4 years, once you have all the machines that you want, that you need, and all the equipment and all the threads and all the supplies and everything, you will start seeing that profit, right? But you got to remember, you'll see it if you are pricing your services correctly. All right. So that will, it'll eventually come. I will tell you, it came pretty quickly for me because I was able to pay for my son's dorm. Because even though Carlito, I had saved money for his college for the 529, but the embroidery business and everything really did help pay for Carlito's dorm. And I had to pay about, his dorm was costing me about like $1,500 a month. And I was actually, the embroidery business was doing really well. It was bringing that much money where I was able to take that money and pay his dorm. Yes, Mello. And for Mello's bones too. Yes, Mello, your bones as well. That's right, boo boo. We can't forget about you. Yeah. So that but it's gonna get there, Marnie. It really will. Our computer tech would be an excellent digitizer, Mr. H. I don't even know if he would want to do that. I don't know. I mean, but I don't know, Cindy. I mean, if Mr. H is watching it, he saw that comment, he might be like, I got to do that too, because he's already he's cameraman, he's graphic designer, he's lighting, he's the web designer, website designer, and all that stuff. He does all the YouTube thumbnails and the video descriptions. He works on setting up the affiliates and stuff. Yeah, Nancy got him working. She really does. She got him working big time. Okay. Because I think now that we think about it, I don't mean to start nothing, but Nancy, what did Nancy do? What does Nancy do? I think she just sews, right? She just sews and buys these kits, spends his money, that's not a stuff. I'm not even gonna go there, okay? But we all know what she does. We all know what she does. Made the mistake of investing too much on supplies and designs. Like you said, sometimes buy it and then never use it. Yeah, and you know what, Marlene? Same. I have so many embroidery designs, and I have to tell you, sometimes I look at them and I think to myself, what the hell was I thinking when I bought that? That wasn't, what was I going to use that for? I mean, I was just like, why? Why did I get that? And I think it's because at the time, it looked cute. And I even have fonts, okay? Fonts that I purchased that sometimes you buy the fonts, they look cute. They look like, oh, this will make a nice font. But then not every word looks good with every font. So what ends up happening is now I'm kind of smarter when I buy my fonts, because when I'm buying the fonts, I don't just look at that thumbnail and say, oh, that's a cute font, I'm going to buy it. I actually look at all the pictures and I look at every letter, especially the capital letters. And I'm going to tell you why. Because sometimes the letter J doesn't look that great. Sometimes the letter K or the letter L or, the letter Z may look a little tacky. So you got to really look at the fonts, okay? So that you can, what is it with you and the barking? You got to look at the fonts to make sure that you like the way the letters, especially the capital letters. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're into personalization, then what happens if you get somebody whose child's name starts, or an adult that starts with the letter Z, and then you bought this Scripps font, and then you find out that the Z looks a little tacky, or that the I doesn't look right, or the letter L, or the letter J, or the G, sometimes, you'd be surprised, the letter A sometimes looks a little tacky too. So you got to really look at those fonts before you buy them to make sure that the letters are gonna, if I had to do a name with that letter, that it was actually gonna come out looking nice. And then sometimes I do another thing too. If I have a font that I like, but I see that first letter doesn't look good, I try to mix it up with another font. Can I find a letter that's kind of close to that font that has the letter K that looks a little bit better? And then I kind of mix and match the fonts and stuff. So that's something, that you can do and everything. But yeah, a lot. I even have fonts that I bought that I was like, why the hell did I buy that? I don't even know why I bought it. Never used it for anything. It's done in Brilliance, but I never used it. Ain't that something? Yeah. Hey Alba, I purchased in Brilliance Essential and I don't use it. Really don't know how. Oh, well, let me tell you, there is a lady called Lisa Shaw, okay, and she's on YouTube. She's really, really good. I like the way she explains and teaches, okay? I do have a couple of videos on my channel as well to teach you how to use it, but it's not like an in-depth, right? Like I don't, I would go with just what I would do is just do a search on YouTube, and I'm sure you're going to find a lot. There is a lot of educational, videos on YouTube on how to use Brilliance. It's, I don't want to say that it's easy to use because, like I said, everybody's learning curve is different. Which is one of the reasons why I tell people when you're buying embroidery software, it's kind of similar like when you're buying an embroidery machine. You know, you got to make sure that it's something that's going to be easy for you to use and understand. And so, but if you bought Embrilliance Essentials, what I would do is go on YouTube and type in how to use Embrilliance Essentials and see what videos pop up and everything, and then see, if you can find one that actually shows you where to click and what does what. But it's going to take some time for you to learn it, that's for sure. I mean, it's just like learning your embroidery machine and everything else. But just take it slow, just do it little by little, and before you know it, you're going to get it. So don't worry. I mean, it's nobody's gets it real quick and stuff. And Marnie says, I use Embrilliance every single time. And I do too. I so much to learn and so much to fun to create with. Give it a try. You won't regret it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, I think it seems to be user friendly. But like I said, just go through the YouTube videos and stuff, and you'll get it. It'll happen and stuff. Hey Rita, how are you? How you doing? Uh Hope to Sew says, I need to stop buying fabric. I always have good intentions. I do too. I do too. I mean, it's funny because yeah, I bought a whole bunch, and this is the thing that I do, guys, and I know that probably some of you guys can relate to. Sometimes I buy fabric just to stare at it. I don't know why. If the intention was to make something, but it's so pretty that it's like I don't even want to cut it. And that's so stupid, right? It's like what the hell do you buy it for, to look at, I mean, and I have to stop it. Like I recently bought fabric from the collection Something Blue, and the fabric is so pretty. I was able to cut three rows, and I made 3 scrunchies out of them that came out so cute. And I'm like, I want to make a tote bag out of that fabric. Probably a wallet out of that fabric too, a matching wallet and everything. And I got to get over it and just cut the fabric. It's just fabric. That's all it is. And there's always going to be nicer fabric out there. So I got to get over that. But yeah. And Marlene, I guess, is feeling it. Tell me about it, Hope. I have a stack of it. Yeah. It's like, oh my goodness. We plan on moving in the fall, and I didn't realize how much fabric I had, because you probably stuffed it in tubs and in drawers, and you put it in your closet and stuff like that. And you probably folded it nice and neat, and you probably hid it. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a lot. And Marcia says, I have 3 tubs of fabric in 3 different rooms. Yep, I believe it. It's the same with me. It's the same with me. And I keep telling myself I'm not going to buy any more, because I'm going to use what I have. Okay. Because Nancy is really, between Nancy and Carol, now I'm really starting to like the quilting. And I want to really get into that more. Because I'm not saying I'm tired of embroidery, but I kind of want to do something different. I want to take advantage of my sewing machines too, so I want to start doing that. I want to start quilting and everything. So yeah. But okay. Let me see. All right. Marlene has a question. Okay. What do you do with all the embroidery you have done? I have a variety of sitting in plastic containers that I did, from towels, hats, dishes, etc. There are several options that you can do, Marlene. The first one was, like I was talking to you about, was you could give them as gifts. But this is the thing. Sometimes you give them as gifts and it will go through your mind. And I know this is the mean side of me thinking, and it's like, are you quilt worthy? Are you embroidery worthy? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's like you give something to someone and you make it for them, and then it's like they don't really appreciate it the way you think they should have appreciated it. It can get kind of funky, right? So it's like, so I know of a lady that and my girlfriend was telling me about her, because I don't know her personally, but she said she likes to take scraps of fabric and she likes to make these quilts, and then she takes them to organizations and she gives them away, you know, which I kind of understand, because this is the thing too. When you are sewing and you're doing embroidery and all that stuff, you're doing it really for yourself, because it's more like a mental thing for us, right? It's like we're doing it because we enjoy the process, we enjoy sewing and all that stuff. And you do get satisfaction when you finish what you're doing, right? Like if I, like I'll give you an example. Like I did the library quilt, and I did it for a friend of mine. And it was a beautiful, beautiful quilt. And it felt so satisfying to finish that quilt. But the thing is, it's like, what do you do with the quilt, right? So of course I wanted to give it to her, because I knew that it was, I kind of, when I created it, I did like on the books, I put the titles of all the books that she has read, right? For the book club. And, and I also put a couple of memory events in the quilt as well. So that way it's kind of like, special for her. But just give them to organizations, give them as gifts to friends and family. Another thing you can do also, which I know it's kind of sad to say, but sometimes you can make quilts or do, with your embroidery machine, or do little gifts and stuff like that. Which is something that I hope to do, is leave little mentors behind, right? So I kind of looked at it like, when I pass, there's certain things that I have or that I've made that I would like certain individuals that meant the world to me to have in remembrance of me. And I know it kind of sucks to hear me say that, because it's like, you guys are probably like, well, today you're not that old, and I got it. But the thing is, you never know when your time's coming. Okay. Let's be honest. All right. We all want to live to 110 and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, one day you could step out of your front door and you could get shot, or you could cross the street, get hit by a car, or you could be sitting in your car, or, going somewhere, and all of a sudden, my heart hurts. And next thing you know, you're gone. Right. So you just don't know. We don't know when our time's going to be. So, that's one of the things that I plan on doing with some of my stuff, is that if I make something and I really think that it's something that I would like to leave behind to a certain individual, I kind of make sure I note that and I store it. But you can give it to organizations, you can give it to friends. Another thing that I was thinking of doing was, they have these patterns for walkers, where you can have like little, you can kind of tie them to the walker, so they can have like a place to put their wallet, their bags, and whatever. I was thinking, oh, I could learn that pattern, and then I could like, use up my fabric, and I could make like a whole bunch of those things. And then I can just take them to an assisted living facility, and I can gift them to them, because, you'd be surprised, those people can, people appreciate certain things, and I kind of look at it also as giving back to the world as well when you do something like that. Because a lot of times people take, and it's kind of nice when you can just give back too. So, you can give, I know I've heard of people also where they make baby quilts, or, they embroider baby shirts and stuff like that. And then what they do is they go to hospitals and they give them to new moms. There was a time when I screwed up an order really, really bad. And I had to buy the backpacks so that I can re-embroider them. And then what I did with those backpacks was I created these patches, and I put it over the embroidery that I screwed up. And in the patches, I did inspirational sayings on them. Like I put down, I'm going to be tomorrow's leader, or, I got this. And, going to school to make a great future for myself. I did all these like positive sayings and everything. And then I took the backpacks, and they were expensive backpacks. I think those backpacks were like, if I remember correctly, they were like $300 a pop. And I screwed up quite a bit. So I had to like buy them and stuff. So it was like $2,000 lost. So I kind of looked at it as, I didn't want to I just threw $2,000 in the toilet. So what I did was I did patches for all those backpacks and everything. And then I had some extra school supplies from when my son was little. And I put school supplies in each of the backpacks and I took them to school and I donated it, because I was like, somebody needing might need them, and you'd be surprised, take them to a school, where, you know, people are a little financially stressed and stuff like that. You'd be surprised, So I did that. So I donated those 12 backpacks to the school. So, you can do stuff like that. But yeah. And another thing too that I've done, Marlene, is there have been times when, when my husband would come home when we were working, he would come home and sometimes he was like, oh, we got invited to a dinner party, or, we got invited to some place and whatever. And I had to come up with a quick gift, right? So you look at the stuff that you've embroidered and stuff, and they're already done. They're already embroidered. And sometimes I would take like a kitchen towel that already had a beautiful design. And then what I would do is I would put the couple's last name and embroider it underneath the design, right? So it looked like I went out and I bought something, had it personalized with their name. And then you can put a whole bunch of other gifts, stuff in there, and you create a gift basket, and before you know it, you show up and they're thinking, oh, wow, that's a gorgeous gift. Where'd you get all that? And it's like stuff you already had, so it works out, So yeah, so that's what I've done. Let's see. Let me go back down. Hey Danielle, how you doing? Oh, and yeah, Danielle just reminded me too, because I know Deborah reached out and everything. For you guys that don't know, I will be teaching tomorrow at Susie's Quilt Shop. 10:30 a.m. is when class is going to start, and I'm going to be teaching reverse applique. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that. So that's going to be a pretty good class and everything. So it's going to be another one of those how to do classes. So if you guys are in the area in Manassas, stop by at Susie's Quilt Shop tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. I will be there, and I'm going to be going there super early because I want to set up one of her machines on the side, because I want to make sure that everything is working so that I can show you guys how to do reverse applique. Not hard at all. I think you guys saw me do that on a live here, but I wanted to do it at the sewing shop because there are some people that I know don't watch the lives. And, I wanted to show folks out there how to do it and stuff. What do you think about that, Mello? You think that's a good idea? Okay, he thinks it's a good idea. He's going to be there. Here, I'm going to give you the last one, and that's it. This is it. Seriously, Mello, I have no more. If you want, you can look yourself. You see? You don't believe me? Look in there good. See? Nothing's coming out. No more. No more. Nothing. Okay? All gone. Not hiding anything. All gone. There you go. See? Done. All right. Putting this right here. All right. He ate all his treats today. I tell you. Okay. Let's see. And Hope to Sew said, I would be afraid to sell anything I make. Why? But I do donate baby quilts to hospitals, and little things like towels and wall hangings I send to nursing homes. There you go. Why would you not want to sell anything you make? I mean, I'm sure they're gorgeous and stuff. Now, there is something though that, I do want to point out too. Sometimes, and this is a thing that I always talk with my bestie over here, Carol, because she is really heavy into quilting and stuff. She does gorgeous work. And one of the things sometimes we talk about is the cost of making some of these items. And what ends up happening is sometimes people just don't want to pay. Making a quilt like what she made for me, this costs money. Okay. You have to buy the and it's not just the money, it's the time. Okay. Because think about it. You look at the quilt that she gave me. Okay. I mean, she had to cut out all this fabric, and then she had to sew it. And then she had to put the batting, she had to quilt it, she had to bind it. Okay. This is work. This is a lot of work. This is not to be taken lightly at all. Okay. And then the fabric costs money, the batting costs money, and I'm sure the fabric that she used for the binding costs money, and then the machine that she had to use to not just sew but also her long arm as well. I mean, all of this is very, very precious. This is not made in China, okay? This is not mass produced or anything like that. This is very unique work. And what happens is people don't understand that, okay? And people think that this type of work, you know, you show them and they're like, oh, I'll give you $40 for it. I'll give you $50 for it. And I'm like, what? It's like, no. Which is why sometimes, like Hope to Sew, like you say, you know, sometimes folks are afraid to sell because they know what they have, you know, and this is good quality sewing. This is not, you know, I mean, this is the real deal. So it's like, you know, that's why, you know, everybody know, touch this quilt, you're dead. You know, this is my quilt, you know. So it's like, no, but I totally got it and stuff. So hey, Carol, that's my buddy right there. I had to show off your quilt. Let's see. Cindy says, if you name your business, like Jeanette's saying, you can sell your business to a non-family member and they will want your client list, systems, channel, etc. Yes, and that's the thing. You have to think about how far do you want this entity to go, right? Because the business is an extension of you and what you do. But the thing is, do you want it to outlive you? Do you want it to expand and all that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? So it's something, you know, that you got to think about. Marnie says, I give lots to friends and gifts for events in my community. Yeah, I know the feeling. I do the same. I thought cleaning closets would be hard. My craft room, I'm the lucky lady and I have so much. Bernardino's saying that Mel deserves all the treats. Well, let me tell you something about Mel. Do you notice? Look right now. Where is he? Where is he? He's gone. That's why I tell you, that dog don't love me. He don't love me. He loves the treats. Okay? Watch this. Watch this. Mello, you want a treat? Mello, look, I have treats. I have treats, Mello. You want a treat? Look at this. I got a treat right here. Look at this. Oh, look at that. Look who showed up. Look who showed. Am I lying? Am I lying, people? Look who's here. Look who's here. What? Do you love me or do you love this? Look at that. At attention. There's nothing here, Papa. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. So like that. But you know, I just needed to prove a point. I just needed to prove a point. I know where the true love is. I tell you. Bernardino, that's all he loves. It's the treat. You're gonna get fat. He's gonna get fat. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go down. All right, yes, Mellow. There's no more treats. Seriously, I wasn't joking. See, no more. It's gone. It's gone. See, there you go. All right. Let me go down the list more. Hey, Franna, how you doing? Hey, Iris, did I miss you? Oh my God. Hi, how are you? How you doing? Let's see. Okay. Are you creating your own website? I am. I'm in the process of doing that. It's not that I don't want to. I'm gonna keep using Etsy, but I do want to have my own independent website as well, because I want customers that, especially the local customers that are asking for embroidery business, to be able to use that site. So I am working on that. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, Morning, it's a pain. It's a pain. It really truly is. It is. It's not easy and stuff. I don't want to use Shopify or anything like that because I don't want to pay all these bills and stuff like that because that's another business expense. So I have to cut back on my business expenses because then next thing you know, I'm working for free, you know? So yeah. So I'm playing around, and if it works out and everything, me and Mr. H will share the information and stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Jeanette, you know, Mr. H will be happy to help. I know. You know what though? He might ask me for a 1099. He might ask for that 1099. I tell you. Alma says, I love embroidery and I'm retired and I want some extra money. Also a quilter, and I have my quilts on Etsy and had no luck. See if you could, Alba, see if you could, you know, I know you have them, you said you have them on Etsy, but see if you could sell them locally. Try that, you know, unless you end up bumping into the issue that me and my girlfriend Carol talk about, where people just they don't understand the value of a real handmade quilt, you know. And that's the other thing too, you know. So yeah, and look at the other quilts. This is the other thing, Amma, that I would do. Look at the other quilts that are on Etsy. See how they're pricing. And I'm not saying that they price it a certain thing. You should be pricing the same. I'm not saying that. Okay, don't think that, because the thing is, what they paid for their fabric and the time it took for their quilt is not match yours. Okay, it's totally different. But when you look at their listing, look at the quilt that they're selling, see the price, and see if there's like a correlation, right? If you could see that the price in, you know, because if you quilt, you should be able to look at a quilt and say, wow, that quilt should be valued at this much. Are they actually selling their quilt at the value that it really is? Then look at their item description. How are they describing their quilt? Because it could be that maybe when you listed your quilt, the item description is not very clear to let the customer know what they're actually getting. The other thing also is your pictures. Okay. Do you have really, really good pictures of that quilt? Do you have close-ups? I would make sure that I have one of a picture of the quilt far away so that they can see the whole design of the quilt. I would show the quilt also up close so that, you know, at least show like one of the blocks of the quilt so they could see what the pattern looks like. Turn the quilt around, show them what the back of the quilt looks like. You know, put any type of description, you know, stuff regarding the quilt, right? Like, did you use a particular type of batting? Okay, put that in there. Was the binding hand stitched or was it machine stitched? You know, how big is the quilt and stuff like that. You know, it was the quilt made with a type of brand of fabric. Put that in the description as well. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So what I would do is, usually the best way is to go through Etsy and see other people that are selling items that are very similar to yours and look at their shops and see, are people buying their quilts? And if they are, then try to figure out, why are they selling their quilts and you're not? You know what I'm saying? Now, if you see someone out there that is selling quilts and then they are so underpriced in their quilts, well, of course, right there, no brainer. They're giving the quilts away. Okay. That's why they're selling them. All right. Because it's like these people are buying those quilts like buying a quilt off of Walmart. Right. But you don't want to be the Walmart quilt seller. Okay. You want to make sure that you sell your quilt at a very good price, at a decent price, because you know how much it costs for the fabric, the time, and everything. So that's what I would do if I were you. You know, and I would do the research and stuff like that. Look at other shops, see how they're advertising their quilts, and if they're selling their quilts and stuff. That might help you. Okay. Yeah, because why reinvent the wheel? right? You know, um, let's see. Hey, Cindy. Oh, I see Cindy in there. Oh, happy, but thank you, Debbie. Yes, it was my birthday yesterday. This is actually my birthday. Yep. So, yeah. So I got up there. Oh, thank you, Iris. Yeah, birthday girl. Birthday girl. um, let's see. I cannot afford to outsource a web designer and wonder if there's a way to create my own. ChatGPT offered to help to create one, have not researched it in depth to learn it. You might be able to get ChatGPT. That's not a bad idea. Maybe I should look into that also and stuff. But I will tell you, it can get a little bit complicated. So, but you know, it takes a lot of time, right? That's for sure. It takes a lot of time. It's not easy and stuff. At least for me, because I'm not a web designer and stuff. So yeah. Sorry. So why don't you need sorry, so why do you really need I guess you're saying in Brilliance Essentials? When I bought some designs by Juju and all I have to do is put in the sub and put it in my 16 machine, I'm totally confused. Okay, Alba, well, it depends. Like I said, it depends on what it is that you want. If you When you buy an embroidery design from a site, absolutely, you can put it in your sub, pop it in, and go ahead and sew it out. However, sometimes you want to make little small modifications to designs. You want to add a word, or, you know, add a person's name. Sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. You want to add a person's name. Sometimes you want to merge a file. Like, let's say I got a picture of a flower. And then I also went and I bought an embroidery design of a sun. And I have the flower, then I want to add the sun on the top. And then maybe on the side, I want to put a child's name or something like that. Using embroidery software like Essentials will allow you to take all three designs, put them together, put the name, and then save it as one file. And then you take that one file and you go ahead and embroider it. What you're doing is you're buying the embroidery design as is from the seller, and you're putting it on your USB, and then you're taking it to the machine and you're just stitching it out. That's it. If you want to add a name, then after you stitch out that design, you would have to you know, create the name and then stitch it out after that. You know what I'm saying? So you would have like separate files, and you know, like let's say if you had the flower, then you had the sun. Well, then you would have a file just for the flower, then you have a file just for the sun. You would stitch out one of the designs first, then you would tell the machine to go ahead and stitch out the other design. When you have in Brilliance Essentials and embroidery software, you can merge designs and you can save them as one. And you can also make changes to the design as well. Let's say there is a portion of that design that you want to take out, right? Maybe there's like I don't know, let's see. Let's say you have let's say you have a teddy bear, okay? And the teddy bear has a balloon. It's holding a balloon, right? Or it has a stick and it has a balloon. And you don't want a balloon. You want the stick to have a heart on it for Valentine's Day, right? So what you can do in Brilliance is you can modify that design to keep the stick, but remove that balloon, and then you can go ahead and you can take an embroidery design of a heart and you can put it in place of the balloon. That's why in those situations when you want to do stuff like that, that's when you can go ahead and you use embroidery software. That's when it makes sense to use that. But what you're doing is you're just buying the design, putting it on a USB, and then you're just taking it straight to the machine. You're stitching it out as is. That's why. And so I hope that kind of helps. That's why a lot of times people, they go ahead and they invest in embroidery software, because even though the designs, when you buy them, they are beautiful, but sometimes they want that extra special, unique touch. They want to add a name, or they want to change a little speck of the design and stuff like that. That's when that would play in. Okay, so I hope I kind of explained that a little bit here. All right. And Alba says, I made a lot of towels. I want to sell them. I go to Facebook. Yep, Facebook is another avenue where people want to do that. You know, if you because I sold a couple of things through Facebook as well. If you want to do straight purchase design, you don't need a software. If you want to personalize change anything, you may want something. Yep, Debbie, you got it. Okay. All right. Cindy said, on your wholesale cost to you, is it quantity per order or per year? Just being nosy. I don't sell. You can be nosy. I don't mind. You can be nosy, Cindy. You can be nosy. Okay. It's not quite okay. Depending on your wholesaler, Cindy, there, like I said, there are, like, I have a wholesaler that's across the street from me, right? And I have the account with him. And what I can do is, like, let's say, what I like is that it's like all his inventory I have access to, but I don't have to have it in my house. So if I sell something on Etsy, let's say you buy a hat, right? And you say, hey, I'm going to buy a hat. I wanted to say Latina on it or whatever, right? I don't have the hats here, but when I saw that I got that order, I'd be like, oh, I got an order for a hat. So I will go on the website for the wholesale that's buying me, and I'll say, I need to buy one hat. So I will just go ahead and buy one hat. However, there's another wholesaler, right? And this is another one that I use, which is Alibaba. Alibaba's overseas. They have a lot of vendors that you can buy from them. However, though, if you want to buy one item, it's not exactly a wholesale price, okay? Because what's going to happen is it's a lot for them to send one item from China to here, okay? Alibaba is stationed in China. However, though, let's say that I have a lot of blank shirts, right? I like their shirts. They're, little blank kid shirts and stuff. So what would I do is I would go to Alibaba, and depending on how many I buy, that determines the cost that's going to be on me. For instance, the vendor may come on and say, if you buy 50 shirts, the shirts are going to be $4 a shirt. If you buy within 51 to 200 shirts, instead of $4 a shirt, I'll sell it to you for $3.50 a shirt. If you buy 1,000 shirts, then what I will do is I will sell the 1,000 shirts to you for maybe $175 a shirt. Okay, so it just depends. Okay, some wholesalers are different. Some wholesalers will say the more you buy, the cheaper the price of the item will be. And there are some wholesalers that will also come out and say there's a minimum that you have to buy. If you buy from me, the minimum that you can buy is 50 or 25. The lowest I ever saw was 25, then 50 or 100 or 200, 500. But the thing is, the more you buy, the cheaper that item is. Now, this is the thing that you have to think about, okay? When you are buying wholesale and you're buying in large quantities, this is the thing that I caution people to do. Make sure that it's going to sell. Because if not, then what happens is, let's say I ordered 1,000 shirts, and the shirts come in, and I only sold 400 of them, or 600 or 700 shirts. Okay? Those other shirts that I didn't sell, all they're doing is taking up space in my home, and that's money I wasted. Okay? That inventory is not moving. So before you go that route, I always tell people, you got to make sure you have a bestseller. You got to make sure that the demand is there. If you're not sure, then what you do is you buy a small quantity, or you just bite the bullet and just buy that 1 or 2 or even just 10. Okay? Because if it doesn't sell, then whatever you have left over, you give them away as gifts, and you tried it. Okay? So don't go and spend and say, oh my goodness, look at that. I see these shirts and they're selling for $1.50 for 1,000. I'm gonna buy all these baby onesies, and they're only 75 cents. So I'm gonna buy 1,000 of them, right? And then you go and you spend that, and then you know what? You're gonna have 1,000 baby onesie sitting in your house, and then you're gonna have to go and you're gonna have to sell all those things. And are they going to sell? Are you gonna move them? Are you gonna be able to move them? That's the thing. So it's kind of tricky. It's something that a lot of business owners, struggle with. I mean, it's just part of the game. You got to make sure that when you are selling something that there is a demand for it, and like I've said in the past, sometimes you think that it's the cutest thing and people are going to jump on it and they're going to buy it, and you don't even sell one. And I have had situations where I just messing around with a design and I'm like, it looks plain. I don't think it's going to sell. And then next thing you know, bestseller. You believe that? So then you're like, okay. So yeah, but that's how, I sell it. Let me see. Embroidery towels are $20 a piece. Too much money. Okay, so embroidered. Okay, are you saying blank towels? Because I'll tell you right now, my blank towels are not $20. Now, I sell my embroidery towels for non-personalized, they're $24.99. And if they are personalized, $27.99. And I do very well. Okay, they sell. They sell. But if the blank ones, I don't even come close to $20 when I buy the blank. Okay, so yeah. So, and it just depends, I'm in Etsy. Hats off to quilters. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yeah, and I already, because I saw that, and I already answered that, Cindy. Let me see. Does it allow you to do anything you want it to do? Okay. Let me see. Are we talking about essentials and in brilliance? Because I'm confused. I don't even know how to use it. Okay, I think I covered that already. Let me see. I've seen it to have a business account for entrepreneurs. Yes, they do. Yes, guys, if you like the information I shared with you guys tonight, please give me the thumbs up. That really helps the channel a lot. And I'm trying to grow this channel. And I am even trying to start to strategize about the future of this channel as well. So yeah. Let me see. Jeanette, are you planning to offer online classes? I need tutoring on how to do applique. I have a Brother Machine 1055, but I never had the opportunity to take classes other than YouTube. Well, Francie, I don't offer one-on-one classes, but I will tell you this. There is a video that I have on there, Applique 101. Okay. Watch that video because that's going to help you, because this is the thing. Applique can be a little confusing because there's 3 steps involved all the time. Okay. You have your placement stitch. Then you have, your placement stitch, your, knockdown stitch, and then you got your satin stitch, your finished stitch. Once you have those 3 down pat, you understand, you will get it. And in that video, I do explain it, and I kind of explain it in very, very detail so that it can, folks can kind of learn how to do it. And each applique design, some only have like 1 piece of fabric, but then you can have some applique designs that are very complex because they have a lot of different applique, pieces to it. But once you learn the concept, it's going to become easy for you and stuff. And one of the things that I always tell people to do is use that stitch simulator, because you want to learn the file before it goes under the needle. And that is something I always like to tell people, especially with applique designs, is when you have that on the machine, you want to run that stitch simulator so that you know how the machine is going to stitch out that design, and you'll know what your placement stitch is, where your tack down stitch is, and where your finishing stitch is going to be. I hope I didn't confuse you, but watch Applique 101, and I promise you, I think that's really going to help you a lot. That'll probably open up the curtain for you. It's Jeanette's birthday week. I know. Need help threading my serger. Okay. McFake, I do have a video on the channel on how to thread the serger. and stuff. You may want to check that one out because that will help you. Let me see. I'm going to review my business account to make sure my hubby and I did not place an order under the wrong account. Yeah, you want to make sure that. Okay, so whenever I am ordering something on Amazon, well, first of all, Fred just has access to the personal. He doesn't have access to, he knows about the business, but he kind of knows to stay away from it and stuff like that. So whenever Fred's ordering something, he's never ordering for the business. I'm the only one that orders for the business, so I always know how to switch the accounts and everything like that. But you want to make sure that you are using the right account, Marlene, because that's gonna, you don't want that to bite you. You really don't. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Miss Parker, how you doing? Oh, thank you. Let's see. Thanks, Miss Miller. How are you? And for you guys also, just a reminder too, the gift exchange live next Friday is the show and tell. So I know, unfortunately, I had to send my gift out late too. So guys, I think there was only 11 of us that registered this year and stuff. We had a pretty low participation and everything. So I'm thinking about, I don't know if we're going to do a live or not, but what I'll do is I'll send out an email to all of the participants just to see how you guys feel about it. And we'll see what we're going to do for next Friday. But usually I do the live show and tell. But some people are camera shy. So, I don't just want to like show off my gift for the whole thing. So, but I'll probably come up with a topic as well too, just in case and stuff. But I'll try to figure out for next Friday and stuff. Let's see. Hey Lori, how are you? How you doing? Gonna show the quill. I did show the quill. I showed it. I have to show off Carol's work, of course. Let's see. She did great. She did. I love my quill. Everybody knows. Don't you touch that thing because it will. There'll be blood. She did an amazing job. Amazing job. I like her, but I know because usually, Cindy, you're right. Usually when people do binding, especially me, I always look for solid colors. And she didn't use solid colors. She actually used a really nice piece of fabric. I mean, let me show you guys so you guys can see the binding that she selected. Look at that. I mean, this is the binding right here. And as you can see, she used a decorative binding and stuff. Usually I use a solid color and she used that and it went so well. And I was like, wow. And this is actually the fabric of some of the blocks. See, this is this. Yeah. So, I mean, she did a gorgeous job. She did a gorgeous job. She has a great eye. She has a great eye for fabric and all that stuff. I wish I had that. I really did. There goes Jenny. Hey Jenny, how you doing? Let me see. Watched you embroider on a baseball. Tried it and it came out great. Thanks for the tutorial. Oh, that's awesome. And I bet you when you did that, you were probably like, this is a lot of work, especially when you're sewing it back together, right? I don't know how your hands felt, but when, because when you're sewing it back together, you have to really like pull so that you can close the gap and stuff. But oh my God, I would love to see a picture of it. So if you are part of the Facebook group and stuff, please post a picture of the baseball that you embroidered. Because I mean, I love doing those, but they are a lot of work to do. They really are. And so, because you got to take it apart and then you got to put it back, embroider it and then put it back together. It's like it's a lot of work. And stuff. So yeah. So sad but true. Too many don't appreciate the work and prefer cheap junk. I know that. That's how I feel. Yeah. They are. You're a sucker for that dog. I am. I am. He's got me, Carol, he's got me wrapped up around his finger. He sure does. Let's see. Oh, it says on Long Island, New York, they sent out a text alert multiple times during the day regarding the smoke. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. We all live on the same planet. Got to take care of it. Yep. Oh, Jenny says, yes, going to Minneapolis and my grandkids, and they suspended their summer camp because of the Canada fires. Yeah, it's like so sad. It's like, it's like always something, you know? Let's see. Oh, congrats to what happened. PM World Live will take care of it. Where is that? Cindyville said, Bob, through embroidery, your artwork purchase sounds amazing. Happy for you. Bob does great work too. He is really, really, I mean, the patches, and the one thing that I really love, and the thing about Bob's embroidery, is he really pays attention to the detail. I mean, the type of fabric that he uses, the type of materials and stuff like that. Bob's no joke when it comes to his embroidery. I mean, he's top notch quality and stuff. Oh, you know what I was thinking about? Tomorrow is the Kimberville thing, and I'm teaching at 10:30. I'm gonna have an iPad or something. I'm gonna be teaching. This is how you do reverse applique real quick. Now, everybody, get on your thing because we gotta win some of Kimberville prizes. Oh my God! I just remembered that I'm teaching tomorrow. Ugh, I'm gonna have to make it work somehow. Gonna have to. Oh my God, son, it just came out of my mind. All right. So it is, see, I'm going down the chat. It's a lot more. Okay. Let's see. Cindy said, I was the one that told brother that they had an N the same as the U in Design Center. They fixed it in the update. Oh, awesome. Oh, the J font always drives me crazy. It is. And Lisa Shaw is great. That's how I learned. Yep. She's very, very good. She really is. Let's see. Going down. Oh, I hate when you buy cute fabric only to find out the print is too large to applique cut because all the details cut off. Yep. Unless you make the applique a little bit bigger so that you can put that in there. But I know what you mean. It's like sometimes you buy the designs and stuff like that, and then you just can't cut that fabric the right way. And so been there. I've been there. Let's see. Jeanette, if Marlene donates completed items, is that a tax write-off? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. Because when I donated those backpacks, those were, yeah, that's a tax write-off too. Yeah. Yes, it is. Hey, Danielle, Jeanette, stepped away from our video. You having class tomorrow, Susie's? Yes, we are going to be there at 10:30 tomorrow. Yes, class is on. We're going to be doing reverse applique. That's what we're going to be doing. The color she uses so beautiful. I know. She did a really, really good job. Let's see. Oh, make a video of you making the quilt so that they know that you've made it. More authentic buying experience. You know, that's a very good idea. Alma, you mentioned about the quilts not selling and everything. And you know what? Bob has a very good thing. In your listings, you can put like a little short video and you can put photos, right? And you know what you can do is you can make a small video of you sewing that quilt. And then also you can put maybe some photos of you, sewing the quilt together too and stuff. So that way they know that this is a truly handmade quilt. I like that idea. I like that. McFay, have you thought about reviewing other small businesses that are having problems with selling their items on Etsy and other sites during lives or video? I this is the problem with that, Big Fate. I could do that, okay, but however, I wouldn't want to because that could piss off a couple of people, okay? Sometimes what happens is people, everyone has an opinion, right? It's kind of like you go into a store and you buy a dress, right? And the dress is on the rack and one's blue and one's red. And you go into the dressing room, you try on the blue, you try on the red. And then you go and you ask me, and I say, I like the blue. You ask Nancy, Nancy likes the red, right? So sometimes it's about opinion, and sometimes it's about experience as well. And it's kind of like you're critiquing, right? So somebody can turn and look at my shop and say, well, I don't like the way you do your pictures, or I don't like the way you do your item descriptions, or I think your pricing is too high, or so people can kind of get pissed off, because sometimes what happens is people, they don't want you to critique their stuff. They want you to look at their stuff and say, oh, it's great, but they don't want like hear like sometimes how you think about it. And I don't want to like be like, I could be wrong, right? I could think like, well, maybe you should do this, and they try and it doesn't work, right? So to me, I kind of look at it as, I tell people if something's not selling, then to me, it's what you got right now is not working. So you have to look at how can you make it different so that it's more attractive to the customer. And people have to kind of try different ways, right? And then I always say, look at other shops that are selling and see what they're doing different from you, that maybe they're using keywords, maybe their titles, maybe their pictures. Like I said, all those things that I mentioned. So you kind of do that. I mean, can I review other small businesses? Yeah, I can. But the thing is, I don't want to piss people off because I don't want somebody to come on and go, look, she looked at my store and talked about it and said all this crap, and they may not like what I have to say. So, I wouldn't do that. Now, if somebody asks me, hey, this is my store and I want you to look at it and critique it, I'll do it, and I'll say, okay, let me look at it. Let me see what would I change if it was mine. That's what I would do. And I would do it on a one-on-one basis. I don't want to do it like on a video where a whole bunch of people see it, because I'm not there to, I don't want somebody to feel bad. You know what I'm saying? People can be very sensitive about that stuff. So if it's a one-on-one, I would do it with that person. But to do it publicly like that, I wouldn't do it, because it's mm-mm. Yeah, I don't want anybody to feel bad and everything, because think about it. I mean, we're all trying and stuff like that. And I don't want to discourage people and, and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just kind of feel kind of funny about that in a way, I've always believed like, there was a saying when I was working, and I used to tell people, you praise people in public, and if there was an issue, you always dealt with that in private. That way, you don't announce it to the world and stuff like that, because you gotta, you want people to succeed and grow and feel good about themselves. So, that's just how I am. So I would feel the same way about that. If someone was to ask me to critique their store, I would do it because they asked me to do it. And, and I would tell them, are you sure? Because I'm going to be brutally honest with you on how I feel it should improve. But I will always do that on a one-on-one basis. I'm not going to do that publicly because, my goal is not to make them feel bad. My goal is to help them, so that way they can be more successful. So that's just how, how I would handle that. Let's see. And I think I am done. Hey, pretty eyes, how are you? Oh no, I have more. Hey, Becky, how are you? Yeah, you are late. Okay, let's see. Everybody's talking about that. Hey, Margie, how are you? There are a lot of projects with free design on in Brilliance with the training videos sometimes too. Yep, there is a lot. All right, guys. Well, I am going to call it the night because now what I have to do is I have to prepare for class tomorrow because I'm going to be at Susie's Quilt Shop at 10:30 tomorrow morning. But I'll have to be there earlier because I have to prepare. So what I need to do is I need to make sure I have all my materials ready so that when I get to the shop, I can just rock and roll and show folks what reverse applique is all about. Okay, so guys, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I hope that you found the information that I shared with you guys useful, and you guys take care. Stay away from that smoke. Try not to breathe it in and everything. Not healthy for you at all. So you guys have a great one. Take care. Be careful out there and have fun with those machines. Happy sewing and happy embroidering. So I'll talk to you guys later. And as you can see, my buddy over here. Oh, you got up now, huh? Oh, look at that. So now he wants to say goodbye to everybody. So I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good evening. Bye. You want to say bye, Mello? You say bye. Bye-bye, everybody.